What's going on, guys? This is Britta back with more of the Odin Project, and today we're going to be working on how does the web work. Before you can understand how to program the web, you need a more rigorous understanding of the web itself than you likely have now. These concepts provide a more holistic understanding of the ecosystem in which you will be working and will enable you to talk intelligently with other developers about your work. This section contains a general overview of topics that you will learn in this session. Describe what the internet is, describe what packets are and how they are used to transfer data, understand the differences between a web page, web server, web browser, and search engine, briefly explain what a client is, briefly explain what a server is, explain what IP addresses are, explain what DNS servers are. So we have some assignments here, and several of these are videos. I'm not going to play those. I'm not sure the rules about playing those on my YouTube channel, so I'm going to skip the video parts. I'm going to watch those offline, and you guys can do the same. How does the internet work? The internet is the backbone of the web, the technical infrastructure that makes the web possible. At its most basic, the internet is a large network of computers which communicate all together. The history of the internet is somewhat obscure. It began in the 1960s as a U.S. Army-funded research project, then evolved into a public infrastructure in the 1980s with the support of many public universities and private companies. The various technologies that support the internet have evolved over time, but the way it works hasn't changed that much. Internet is a way to connect computers all together and ensure that whatever happens, they find a way to stay connected. Deeper dive. A simple network. When two computers need to communicate, you have to link them, either physically, usually with an Ethernet cable, or wirelessly, for example with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth systems. All modern computers can sustain any of those connections. Such a network is not limited to two computers. You can connect as many computers as you wish, but it gets complicated quickly. If you're trying to connect, say, 10 computers, you need 45 cables with 9 plugs per computer. To solve this problem, each computer on a network is connected to a special tiny computer called a router. This router has only one job. Like a signaler at a railway station, it makes sure that a message sent from a given computer arrives at the right destination computer. To send a message to computer B, computer A must send the message to the router, which in turn forwards the message to computer B and makes sure the message is not delivered to computer C. Once we add a router to the system, our network of 10 computers only require 10 cables, a single plug for each computer, and a router with 10 plugs. A network of networks. So far, so good. But what about connecting hundreds, thousands, billions of computers? Of course, a single router can't scale that far, but if you read carefully, we said that a router is a computer like any other, so what keeps us from connecting two routers together? Nothing, so let's do that. By connecting computers to routers, then routers to routers, we are able to scale infinitely. Such a network comes very close to what we call the internet, but we're missing something. We built that network for our own purposes. There are other networks out there. Your friends, your neighbors, anyone can have their own network of computers, but it's not really possible to set up cables between your house and the rest of the world. So how can you handle this? Well, there are already cables linked to your house, for example, electric power and telephone. The telephone infrastructure already connects your house with anyone in the world, so it's the perfect wire we need. To connect our network to the telephone infrastructure, we need a special piece of equipment called a modem. This modem turns the information from our network into information manageable by the telephone infrastructure and vice versa. So we are connected to the telephone infrastructure. The next step is to send the messages from our network to the network we want to reach. To do that, we will connect our network to an internet service provider. An ISP is a company that manages some special routers that are all linked together and can also access other ISPs' routers. So the message from our network is carried through the network of ISP networks to the destination network. The internet consists of this whole infrastructure of networks. Finding computers. If you want to send a message to a computer, you have to specify which one. Thus, any computer linked to a network has a unique address that identifies it called an IP address, where IP stands for Internet Protocol. It's an address made of a series of 4 numbers separated by dots, for example, 192.168.2.10. That's perfectly fine for computers, but we human beings have a hard time remembering that sort of address. To make things easier, we can alias an IP address with a human readable name called a domain name. For example, at the time of writing, IP addresses can change. Google.com is the domain name used on the top of the IP address 142.250.190.78. So using the domain name is the easiest way for us to reach a computer over the internet. Internet and web. As you might notice, when we browse the web with a web browser, we usually use the domain name to reach a website. Does that mean the internet and the web are the same thing? It's not that simple. As we saw, the internet is a technical infrastructure which allows billions of computers to be connected all together. Among those computers, some computers called web servers can send messages intelligible to web browsers. The internet is an infrastructure, whereas the web is a service built on top of the infrastructure. It is worth noting there are several other services built on top of the internet, such as email and IRC, intranets and extranets. Intranets are private networks that are restricted to members of a particular organization. They are commonly used to provide a portal for members to securely access shared resources, collaborate, and communicate. For example, an organization's intranet might host web pages for sharing department or team information, shared drives for managing key documents, and files and portals for performing business administration tasks, and collaboration tools like wikis, discussion boards, and messaging systems. Extranets are very similar to intranets, except they open all or part of a private network to allow sharing and collaboration with other organizations. They are typically used to safely and securely share information with clients and stakeholders who work closely with the business. Often their functions are similar to those provided by an intranet: information and file sharing, collaboration tools, discussion boards, etc. Both intranets and extranets run on the same kind of infrastructure as the internet and use the same protocols. They can therefore be accessed by authorized members from different physical locations. What is the difference between web page, website, web server, and search engine? In this article, we describe various web-related concepts: web pages, websites, web servers, and search engines. These terms are often confused by newcomers to the web or are incorrectly used. Let's learn what they each mean. Alright, as with any area of knowledge, the web comes with a lot of jargon. Don't worry, we won't overwhelm you with all of it. We have a glossary if you're curious. However, there are a few basic terms you need to understand at the outset, since you'll hear these expressions all the time as you read on. It's easy to mix these terms since they refer to related but different functionalities. You'll sometimes see these terms misused in news reports and elsewhere, so getting them mixed up is understandable. We'll cover these terms and technologies in more detail as we further explore further, but these quick definitions will be a great start for you. Web page, a document which can be displayed in a web browser such as Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, Microsoft Internet Explorer Edge, or Apple Safari. These are also often just called pages. Website, a collection of web pages which are grouped together and usually connected together in various ways, often called a website or site. Web server, a computer that hosts a website on the internet. Search engine, a web service that helps you find other web pages such as Google, Bing, Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo. Search engines are normally accessed through a web browser or through a web page. Let's look at a simple analogy: a public library. This is what you would generally do when visiting a library. Find a search index and look for the title of the book you want. Make a note of the catalog number of the book. Go to the particular section containing the book, find the right catalog number, and get the book. Let's compare the library with a web server. The library is like a web server. It has several sections, which is similar to a web server hosting multiple websites. The different sections, science, math, history, etc., in the library are all like websites. Each section is like a unique website. 2 sections do not contain the same books. The books in each section are like web pages. One website may have several web pages. The science section will have books on heat, sound, thermodynamics, statics, etc. Web pages can each be found at the unique URL. The search index is like the search engine. Each book has its own unique location in the library. 2 books cannot be kept at the same place, which is specified by the catalog number. Okay. A web page is a simple document displayable by a web browser. Such documents are written in the HTML language, which we look into in more detail in other articles. A web page can embed a variety of different types of resources, such as style information, controlling a page's look and feel, scripts which add interactivity to the page, media, images, sounds, and videos. All web pages available on the internet on the web are reached through a unique address. To access a page, just type its address in your browser address bar. A website is a collection of linked web pages, plus their associated resources that share a unique domain name. Each web page of a given website provides explicit links, most of the time in the form of clickable portions of text that allow the user to move from one page of the website to another. To access a website, type its domain name in your browser, and the browser will display the website's main web page or home page, casually referred to as the home. The ideas of a web page and a website are especially easy to confuse for a website that contains only one web page. Such a website is sometimes called a single-page website. Web server. A web server is a computer hosting one or more websites. Hosting means that all the web pages and their supporting files are available on that computer. The web server will send any web page from the website it is hosting to any user's browser per user request. Don't confuse websites and web servers. For example, if you hear someone say, "My website is not responding," it actually means that the web server is not responding and therefore the website is not available. More importantly, since a web server can host multiple websites, the term web server is never used to designate a website, as it could cause great confusion. In our previous example, if we said, "My web server is not responding," it means that multiple websites on the web server are not available. Search engine. Search engines are a common source of confusion on the web. A search engine is a special kind of website that helps users find web pages from other websites. There are plenty out there: Google, Bing, Yandex, DuckDuckGo, and many more. Some are generic, some are more specialized about certain topics. Use whichever you prefer. Many beginners on the web confuse search engines and browsers. Let's make it clear. A browser is a piece of software that retrieves and displays web pages. A search engine is a website that helps people find web pages from other websites. The confusion arises because the first time someone launches a browser, the browser displays a search engine's homepage. This makes sense because obviously the first thing you want to do with a browser is to find a web page to display. Don't confuse the infrastructure with the service. The distinction will help you quite a bit, but even some professionals speak loosely, so don't feel anxious about it. Here's an instance of Firefox showing a Google search box as its default startup page. Okay, so as I said before, I'm not going to be watching the videos on here, but I want you guys to go through the knowledge check and see if you can answer all these questions after you've watched the video. And I'm not going to do the additional resources in the video, but you guys are welcome to do that, and we're going to mark this one complete.